Hello, I'm Stephanie Toman. Here's another set of videos on presentation skills beyond the basics, and it's looking at the areas of using the drawing tools. So objects, backgrounds, formatting particular shapes, lots of features built into PowerPoint, and you can pick out lots of things and do them to drawing objects. And also we'll be looking at pictures about how recolouring, converting, using the graphics, so they're using the graphics so that you get a nice blend of things rather than just going for solid colours. Cropping, editing pictures, really some tricky stuff that can make sure that you get the editing features that you want, and different picture formats towards the end. So hopefully this will be helpful if you're doing a presentation and you need to be using lots of different features in this area. Thank you. If we look at the first activity slide, drawing objects, it wants us to open a blank PowerPoint presentation. So I'm just going to minimize that over here so we can still see what we need to do. And I'll do the same for this. Okay. So we've got to so we've got a new slide. So let's put in a new slide because we don't really want it on a, so we can put it on a, just insert a new slide with a to content slide. It wants us to draw a rectangle object. Insert into your shapes, drop down here, there's your rectangle. Click on that and drag it out. In order to see sizes, etc., I'm just going to bring it out because it wants 15 by 5. Okay, so here's our shape. The Format tab will give us our sizes. The View tab will allow us to keep the ruler on. So the ruler might help. Some people use it, some people don't. It's up to you. The Format tab will give us our sizes. So it's 5 in height and 15 in width. So that's done that. And then to do anything to that shape, we would right click and we would format shape, and that can bring up a lot of these areas here. So we've got our fill and our line. We have our effects. So if I hover back, hover over it, you've got effects. That one's your fill and line. That's your effects. Come back again. And this is your size and properties. Within each of these, we have shadows, we have presets, and we have, when we've done set something at a preset, we've got different colors, transparency, blur, angle, distance, etc. And each of these drop downs all have their own areas, preset areas, and other things. So there's the reflection area, and close that, the glow, different ones on different things. So you'll be guided in your exam to use particular things. Let's close those. We've got soft edges presets. We've got 3D format. The 3D format, always think about it as the place where you'd find everything that you can't find in the others. So it's the odd things like lightning, material, contour, bevels, all those sorts of things that you don't find in the other ones. They're not obvious. And then you've got the 3D rotation, which is how we can manipulate rotation-wise and add text to things and keep text flat, even if the object's at an angle. So we can apply all of these things to a simple shape. And all of the stuff I've just looked at here, a lot of it is up here too. But the real detail is in the format shape area. There's also a text option where you can find these options with the text and the shadow text, reflection, glow, etc. all on those, and text box. But we're going back to shape options. Okay, so we're going to do the next slide. If I just bring this down, we've got back to our next one. And here it's looking at how we can use gradients within text, and in this case, shapes. So I'm going to start using our view and switch windows between those. And so we can do these things. So gradients, if you right click and go to a fill, drop down there, you can get to a gradient there. You can see light variations and dark variations. And if you hover on them, they will do different angles. And on here, you've got the same. So you may be asked to apply a variation. If you look at the things that you can do with regard to gradients, you've got different gradients that are just preset. If you do that, you can have different types of that. Then you can have different directions of that. So there's so much going on. You can change these gradient stops in color. So you could have a different blue there, and you can make that last one a white. You can add stops, and you can remove stops by dragging them away. So all of that is going on. You've got transparency as well and brightness, and they're all affecting that gradient when you're on there. So all of those different features that you've got there, and if you scroll down, they've got some things for lines too. Okay, so this is opening up a whole area, I think, in PowerPoint that a lot of us don't use. And it's all of the things that you can do and manipulate in shapes. Okay, you've also got texture. So if we go back to fill at the top, you've got this one. And remember, texture you might have seen in another ones we've used. You can change texture. You have patterns there, so you can use those. So lots going on with regard to that fill. So let's look at the other areas. A quick look at line. There's not really a lot going on with line. You can have a dash. You could thicken that point so you can see it more. You could build the transparency of it. So they're pretty much just straightforward. Okay, and then you could change it to black, and it's good for defining things. Let's, however, look at some of the other options. So we've got our shadow, and we can see there are presets on the shadow. So we could have an outer and apply that. Or we could have that low transparency, so you can see it more. You can make it bigger, as you can see there, quite a big difference. You could blur it, and etc. And then we've got things like reflection. So if we had a reflection, we could reflect it again. Let's do one of these, and you can see that it's quite a big reflection. And if you hover on that reflection, I'm just going to close shadows down, you can see what those reflections are. So in the exam, they will be expecting you to find these different options within the format shape area task pane and to apply them to different things accordingly. Other things you've got, it's obviously size as well on that reflection. And then it comes down, if we just, there's your distance of reflection, your blur, your size on it, etc. So let's close that. Then you've got soft edges. So you could have 2 points. It's not a lot, but it gives it a little bit of a change. And then you've got 3D format area. So you've got bevels. Okay, you've got things like angle, soft round. On the other bevel, the bottom bevel, you've got the angle again there, slope, cool, rivet, circle, etc. Convex is a common one. These tend to be seen better with images, but with graphics, but they're still worth using. And then we've got things like lightning, and you've got asking for warm, a lightning with a warm sunset, a lightning with a cool freezing. So you've got those things that you could be adding as well. And then with the rotation, you've got you can be asked to up the X rotation. Oh, I need to click on the object first. Bear with me. Back into effects. I was on the text at that minute then. So you've got to make sure that you're actually highlighting the right thing. You should see it go round. And you can rotate it on the y-axis and on the z. You could bring it round more, and then you could add text to it, and you could keep that text flat so that when it goes on its rotation it's still available. So there's an awful lot going on. You click on it, back on it, off it, just get fill, on it, get the effects again. So get to know these, get an idea of what is where, and always remember the 3D format is the one where you'll find the odd strange ones that you can't think of where they'd be. Then you've got the position, size and position. And the other thing that's popped in here is called alt text. So the alt text is where you can type in the title of a graphic and a description of a graphic, and then a screen reader would read that for somebody that was visually impaired. So that's always there as a feature too. So you could include those depending on your audience. Size is to do with, as we know, we've already done that size, but we can do more rotation, scale width, and lock ratio. That means that if it's locked, it has to be a certain size. Otherwise it won't just go and do any size you wish. Positioning, this is quite important when we come in to do these a bit later. You're always going to be doing it from a horizontal or vertical position, and it's going to be an option top left corner or an option there top left corner or center. And other ones give a top right corner. So if we change it, you can see how it changes on the grid. If we right click on the grid while we think about it, you get the grids and guides. So if you just click on there, they come up. You can have display grid, you can display drawing guides on the grid, and you can have smart guides to make sure they're aligned, and you can snap them to the grid as well. And snapping them to grid, if you've got I don't know, 2 per grid, more, and then you can see how you can snap them to the nearest. Let's snap off. And then you can sort of line them up as you know you want them with regard to fitting in with your theme. So all of those things are there. Be aware of them. And when they ask you, there's your text box. So if you've got a text box, etc., and you want to do things too, text boxes are always a bit of a pain, but at least you've got some control over these ones. But it's unlikely to come up in the test, really. Okay, it's not mentioned in the syllabus. So that's like just a bit of a brief introduction to all of these areas that we're going to be using. And you can see on this one, we've highlighted on, we've got a triangle. And let's have a go at actually doing this to this triangle then, just so that we can get a feel for it. So going at my previous wonderful presentation, let's bring it over. So I'm going to bring in a new slide, and I'm going to draw a triangle. This triangle is about size-wise 8.5 by 12. So insert, shapes, there's my triangle. That'll do, I suppose. Just bring it over. Okay. Right, so we're going to apply some things to this. So right click, might actually be better over there. Right click, format shape, and then our thing comes up. So it wants us to apply blue 11-point glow accent color 5. So we're going to go into our effects. We're going into glow, and we've got some presets, and we need 11-point glow accent color 5. So 11-point glow. 11. Ah, there's 11-point glow. So the blue is because the triangle is blue. So 11-point glow, accent 1 color. There it is. 11-point glow, accent color 5. That's that one. And then a bottom convex bevel. So we need to go to, do you remember the weird, the strange ones are always in here. So it's a bottom bevel, this one, and it's convex. That convex one, that one. There it is, so we'll use that one. Then we want a half reflection 4-point offset. So close that. So reflection presets, half reflection, 4-point offset. Let's try that one. So that's a full reflection. There it is, half reflection, 4-point offset. So it's about finding those particulars, isn't it? It wants an inner diagonal top left shadow effect. So preset inner, is that inners? Inner diagonal top left. Oh, straight away, that's that one. And then an X rotation of 45. So we need to get into the rotation one, drop that down, X rotation of 45. Add your name, blah, 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 and ensure it stays flat. There's our keep flat option there. And then add a lightning cool freezing effect, the final one. Remember the one that we're never sure where we find it, 3D format, got a feeling it's in there. And there's the lightning ones. And it's a lightning cool freezing effect. Oh, it's that one. That's why we didn't find it. There's the lightning, there's the chilly, there's the freezing effect. Okay, so it just goes to show, I know we've done an awful lot to one object. This is the idea that you need to know where you're going, what you're finding, because remember your time is running out as you're clicking around and searching for things. Now, you can click around and search for things in the exam, but it is time that's against you. And as long as you don't click on answer before you're finished, you can click around and search for things. You are human and you're not going to get absolutely everything perfectly right. So we're going to look at the next one now on this slide. Easy to do that. So we're going to look at some, I'm going to just minimize this out the way for a moment and we'll open this one up. So looking at rotating and flipping objects. So what you've got is you've got in your format tab, so if you click on something like a picture and in your format tab becomes available, and then you've got some arranging objects, aligning, line to slide should be on, rotating, and grouping or ungrouping. So it's how we arrange objects. So grouping and ungrouping, the first one, if we right click on this and go to, if you can't find it, try it again, right click there, there's your group. If you can't find it on a right click, select your one shape and go up to the format tab and you will find the group there. So we're going to ungroup through the group, ungroup, and then the objects become separate. Okay, and then what we could do is we could select them with the shift and we could group them again in that way. So that becomes one object. And the beauty of it is that you can create diagrams, flowcharts, things like that, and then you realize that you need to take them somewhere else as well. So it's always good to group them before you shift them about, cutting and pasting or etc. And then ungroup to work on them individually. You've also got, if we ungroup that again, make sure I'm right on the top, there we go. And then what you can do is you can do things to individual objects. So I can pull the, I need to get that arrow on its own, there it is. And you can see how we're going to do this rotate feature. So we're on format and you're expected to use a proper rotate feature rather than just grabbing it as you would normally do. I can get the handle on it. There it is. Normally people just do that in the real world, but unfortunately you're in an exam, and when you want things to snap to the grid and be perfectly aligned, then rotating is the best way. And you can get more options by making it straighter, etc., because then you get the beauty of it being perfectly. And these grid lines really help with regard to shape. When it comes to alignment, you have left, centre, right. You can try them out if you want. It'll be according to the slide. Middle goes up towards the middle. Distribute horizontally, it already is by the looks of it, or distribute vertically, so it's bang in the middle. If it was, we move it away a little bit there. Let's do that one, and let's align distribute horizontally. You can see, or distribute vertically up there. Okay, so those features need to be used within the exam. And when you click on an object, any object, these tools become available, particularly format. That's where you'll find everything. Click it off, it won't. Remember that if you go into the shapes, insert shapes, you don't have a circle and you don't have a square. So a rectangle with a shift becomes a square when you drag it out, and a circle, if we go back into shapes, there's an oval there, grab an oval, press shift, and that oval become a circle. Okay, there's a little bit more going on with regard to how we can manipulate pictures, etc. And there's such a thing as recolouring, picture correction, stuff like that, and artistic effects. So you can do this to pictures brought in. Let's open up the theatre presentation so we can get an example of this. Back to our work files, and there's the theatre presentation there. So we've got some pictures here. I know they're quite oldie worldy looking as such, but they're good for recolour. They're good to see it in action. So go to your format, and then you've got these features here. Colour correction, colours there, corrections there. Artistic effects aren't there because it's not a graphic. Okay, so colour correction we can use, so you can make it more like presentation background or less. And then you've got things where you can apply grayscale, you can have black and white. There's lots of things like accent colours that you can use, giving it a tinge. So all those sorts of things are all in there. If you right click on a picture and go to format picture, the things that you will get, the artistic things are there, but they're not available because, like I said, it's not the right sort of picture. But then you've got this picture feature here, so that does give you picture correction, sharpness, brightness, that depth again, and then the picture colour as well. And then it's got a feature that we haven't come across as yet. That's where the crop is positioned. We'll look at this later, but when you crop in advanced PowerPoint, you're always cropping using the top. So if we have a look at this picture and I add to the 7, so I make it 9.97, to see how it crops from the top. If I made it 5, guess what happened? It cropped from the bottom. So when they use, we'll have a look later at cropping a bit more, but they talk about cropping from the top, or cropping so that the bottom is no longer there. So it's always a bit tricky, and we'll look at how they approach that. So colour corrections and colour as in recolour are all there, and you can also get very much more detail in here with brightness, contrast, etc. So it's not too difficult using it appropriately. So back to our presentation. And we're talking about here about graphics being placed in the background of a slide. So if we've got graphics, remember we used this before, the hide background graphics option. You could be asked to use it in an exam. So just to remind ourselves, let's open up the shapes, which I think should have been the one I saved, but I've left it open, thankfully. Here we go. So this would be the shapes one. And we're going to bring in a picture. So we're going to bring in a picture and see what we can do with it. So if we insert the butterfly from our folder, so there's pictures, and go to, it's on my desktop. So this is more of a graphic, photograph if you like. There's our butterfly. Now, a butterfly will have artistic effects. So we come down here and there they are. So you can see you can do lots of different things. So there's really lots to choose from. And also, if you're in an exam, they could ask you to do lots of different things. So they may ask you to apply. So you can see there's artistic effects in action. If you you've got a picture box there, and those same correction, picture and crop is there, and in here, click on there. We should get the option to do the picture color and stuff like that as well. See how different it can look. Picture position. I'll chop the top of it off. Okay, so artistic effects, a little bit more to it, and they're always, when you click on it, they're always available here as well as the task pane. Okay, so if we've got to now look at some other things, one thing you could do is you can actually draw, we're going to draw another shape. Let's do a circle. Remember, shift, bring it up, that one over. We can actually fill this with a picture as well. And this always looks good, doesn't it? So if we right click and we fill and go to picture, we could bring in something from our files or something off the internet, but generally best to have them on files so you're not scrambling around to find it. And you can bring in a picture and manipulate that. And then you could even go on to this format and you could do an artistic effect on that to make it look whirly and a little bit different. So other things you can do to when you bring things in, we brought in the butterfly and we did some artistic effects to it. We can also bring in a linked picture. So if we're bringing in a linked picture, so if we're asked to bring in a linked picture, we'd select it and then make sure that we drop down the insert link to file or insert link is used depending on the question. Okay, if they want to link the picture to a file or insert and link, that's how you do it. So usually use link to file, and that's a way of making sure that you've brought in a linked picture. So moving on to our PowerPoint again, back to here. It talks and reminds us here about that graphic, about making sure that you hide the graphic. So if we use that PowerPoint I've just popped here, if we put a graphic in here, do you remember how we had a slide master? Let's go to the top one and let's insert picture. Let's bring in volleyball, reduce it quite far down, pop it in the corner. You can see it's in all of them. Then when you close your slide master and you've got it on your top one, that one you can, if you right click, go to format background and you can click hide graphic. You can see it disappear, you can see it come back, and you can hide the graphic so that it doesn't come on the first slide, because you really don't need a logo or something else on your introductory slide. Okay, another little thing before we move on and finish with the cropping is to actually use that alt text we talked about earlier. So if you've got a graphic in your presentation and you go to the feature size and properties, you will find the alt text there. So they may ask you to put in the butterfly. I'll tell you exactly what they want to put in. Beautiful, I was going to put butterfly. And then they may ask you to pop in some text. Make sure you spell it properly. Okay, I've changed my mind too much. And then that would be there if somebody wanted to use screen reader, and you probably do a lot more graphics to apply that to it. So that's your text alternative, which comes up on the next slide. There's your graphics, there's your picture, formatting it, size and position, all those different things. And there's the alt text just before that. And you can see there's your grids that we've used. And then we're going to be looking now at the crop just to make sure things are clear. So we'll switch to that. Will be a better way of getting around, I think, to the presentation we've got. Let's put in a new slide and let's bring in let's insert the good old ostrich that we've all come to love. Okay, it's quite a big ostrich. You'll notice that if we go into the crop area, if we just drop this up, the area here, then you've got this from the top. That's the area they come from. It's about crop position and not the crop itself. The crop, as you know or may not know, if you click on a crop, you can crop unnecessary space from a picture. They also have a feature in the syllabus that you would be expected to crop aspect ratio 2:3, 3:4, 1:1. So you can have that will not come up in the format picture area. It just comes up here. So be aware of aspect ratio cropping comes up here. Crop to shape is when you've got a shape where it will crop like that. So quite useful. But the cropping, as far as this is concerned, if we increase it by 1, takes it off the top. If we decrease it back to 4, back to there, take it down to 3, and it starts changing things. So be really careful when they talk about cropping the crop position top. So if we go back to the slide to make a bit more, there's that aspect ratio. And then if we go down to the next slide, we're talking about the height of something. And when they say height, they're talking about the crop position, and they're talking about the top being increased or decreased according to the question. Final part of this week 3 lecture is that just to show you how you can save images, different formats. I'm sure you all do it all the time. So we've got an image here. Better actually to use a butterfly or something. So you've got an image here, and you've got save as picture as picture. I always say that. You've got a GIF, as the slide says, that's been quite big. You can go to a JPEG, a bitmap, and not a PNG, but tend to use these two more. So you do a JPEG, like I said, it'd be a lot smaller, and to bring in on presentation, particularly if you're doing it on a web-based internet download. So just be aware of those things. I'm going to do the weekly revision for week 3, questions 5 to 10 in the next video series. So thank you.